Yes. Hi, everyone. You can hear me, Professor Wirtz?
Yes, I hear you well. Hi, Saurabh.
So it's a pleasure to have you here at Edorer's Masterclass. We have a lot of audience already joining in. This masterclass is really special for us because it's really an honor to host a stalwart like you, sir. And we are really excited about the topic today, how intelligent automation, AI, and service robots can actually change the customer strategy, not only for companies, for startups, for everyone else who are looking to revolutionize their processes. Now, hello everyone. Welcome to this masterclass. Thanks for joining in. This is Saurabh Gupta. I am the CEO of Edorer. You all know this is like now the fourth edition for this session, eighth overall. In this masterclass, you will actually have a 60-minute session or maybe a little lesser by Professor Wirtz. Once the session is over, you will move to the Q&A section, how you can ask questions. If you have any question, you can raise your hand. I will put you in the spotlight and you can ask the question in person. If you do not want to do that, you can still ask your question in the Q&A. And in the Q&A section, Professor Wirtz will pick up the questions. In fact, I can also read out the questions for you, and then we'll have the responses from Professor Wirtz. We'll also have a little survey and a poll during this. And feel free to keep posing your questions. Of course, you cannot ask a question while Professor Wirtz is giving the masterclass, but whenever you have a doubt or a question around what Professor Wirtz is talking about, please drop it in the Q&A. And we'll pick each and every one. We'll have a 30-minute session. Hopefully, the Q&A, we'll pick up everything from there. And before that, I'll quickly like to introduce Professor Wirtz. I have a formal introduction to make here. Okay. So he is definitely a legend. You all are really, blessed to have his session. So Professor Wirtz is a Vice Dean, MBA programs, and Professor of Marketing at NUS Business School, National University of Singapore, one of the most prestigious universities in the world. He's also a world leader on services, marketing, and management. I mean, like, trust me, I've really spoken to a lot of people. It's a customer strategy. Professor Wirtz is definitely one of the go-to person. His research on service marketing and management, intelligent automation, AI, robotics platform, business models, corporate digital governance, cost-effective excellence has been published in over 200 academic journals. He has featured 6 times and more in Harvard Business Review. Professor Wirtz is also a global best-selling author of over 20 books, including Services Marketing, People, Technology, Strategy, and Essentials of Services Marketing, that have been translated and adopted in over 26 countries. So obviously widely popular because it has more than 1 million copies. Professor Jochen is also an active keynote speaker and a management consultant, consulting so many top companies around the world like Accenture, KPMG, and whatnot. In recognition of his excellence and research in teaching and executive education, Professor Wirtz has received over 60 awards, including the Christopher Lovelock Career Contribution to the Services Discipline Award in 2019, which is one of the highest recognition of the American Marketing Association in services community. So we all truly blessed to have you here, sir. And we really look forward to this session. The platform and the floor is all yours.
Wonderful, Saurabh. Thank you so much for this wonderful introduction here. Just a quick question. Can you enable that everyone can see the chat? So I will post some resources in the chat now and as we go through. So I put a little welcome here, which I hope you see. Then we are all connected here. Feel also free to type questions into the chat if you like, or into the Q&A part. Good. Let me share the screen here first, that we do this. Okay. So I think that works, right?
Yes, absolutely. We can see it.
Wonderful. Let me now just redo my... let me see, where's the chat here? Okay. Good, cool. Okay. Screen. Sorry, just a second.
I guess you will see the chat and the controls on the top, sir.
Yeah, I don't see it right now. Here is exactly. Sorry, now I'm back in business. Thank you, Sarah. Okay, cool. Now, welcome everyone. I'm so delighted to be here with you today, and I'm talking about a topic that I'm really passionate about. I've been working on intelligent automation, service robots, AI, platform business models, metaverse, and these topics since my first publication in this field in 2018, and that has been now my biggest running research area. And why I'm so excited about it is because I truly believe that we are really in a new revolution, in the service revolution. I mean, we had the agricultural revolution, we had the industrial revolution, and I believe in 50 years from now, when we look back at the 2020s, we're going to say, wow, in the 2020s, that is when really the service revolution gathered pace. And why am I saying that? Because all the technologies are coming together now. I mean, we all know generative AI, ChatGPT, and all of those technologies, but it's also the hardware from cameras to sensors to chips. It is all the applications from biometrics, natural language processing, mobile technology, geotagging technology, you name it. Everything is coming together, and this technology is getting cheaper, more powerful, smaller, easier to use almost by the month. And there's virtually no corner in our economies where there is not innovation and pushing and new startups and business models and research that is trying to push the boundaries. So whether you're in energy and electricity and banking and insurance and healthcare, you name it, we are tackling that from every angle, and we're going to see an avalanche of new applications come out that will completely change our lives. And that's exciting. I mean, I tell my kids, I know many here in the audience are students. I tell them, look, you're so lucky. You're going to see what happens in the next 50 years. And the next 50 years will be just mind-blowing and what will change. I mean, you just look back 20 years, it's already mind-blowing what happened 20 years ago. I mean, we didn't have iPhones, we didn't have Facebook, we didn't have many things, no WhatsApp, YouTube, LinkedIn were not as strong, and so on. And today we have all of this and it's ingrained in our daily lives. Now, the Industrial Revolution and the Agricultural Revolution really brought unprecedented increases in standard of living to the world. And there's no way that we could feed and clothe and house 8 billion people if we hadn't had those revolutions. And I expect that the service revolution will have a similar impact, particularly on critical industries. I mean, to me, probably the two most important industries we have are healthcare and education. And both, there's an insatiable demand, and the majority of the world's population is underserved in both industries. And I believe that the service revolution will bring high quality services to the world in an unprecedented manner. Now, from a sort of, I'm in marketing, I'm a business school professor. So the Industrial Revolution brought us modern marketing. I mean, before the Industrial Revolution, we didn't really have branding, distribution, pricing, communications, advertising, promotion. So we didn't have any of that, revenue management, right? You named these topics here. And they came with the Industrial Revolution. So what will the service revolution bring to us? You know, and to me, one very, very big difference in the service revolution is that we have many services that are what I call information processing type services. And that processing basically is free. I mean, there's no incremental cost of adding another customer doing another transaction. And that is very, very different, let's say, from manufacturing and agriculture, where we still need raw materials, manufacturing, shipping, logistics, and all of that. Yeah, I think you can see where we are going with the service revolution here. At many, many industries, incremental costs are going to be zero. Now, let me say a few words of to what I understand of, I call it intelligent automation, right? What is intelligent automation? And some people talk about AI, there's a lot of research and so on, but AI is not the customer interface. AI is like Intel Inside, is the chip, is the engine that drives it, but is a lot more than AI that touches the customer or will serve us here. And you can see, I mean, we talk about 4 capabilities, and you can compare this to humans. I mean, vision is the eyes of the technology. So we have computer vision. That means we need to get the environment, what's happening or what's on a document, or facial expression. We need to, the technology has to recognize this and put this into bits and bytes into the computer. So this computer vision is the eyes of the technology here, is text recognition and these kinds of things. Now, the next is very important, and that is execution. People forget this, but look, if I want to issue you a virtual credit card or a travel insurance, I have to issue a legally binding contract, a legally binding insurance policy. So, I mean, this means there has to be something that executes and does this in a way that makes it happen, right? And these are the arms and the legs of your technology. And this is robotic process automation, smart workflows, and so on. Then, of course, you have language, natural language processing, ChatGPT, and so on. So the whole thing is, hey, you know, the technology has to translate what you say and understand what you say and be able to communicate back to you. I mean, I think that we are typing into phones and keyboards. I think that's something that will go away. I mean, already I'm very lazy typing. So very often on my WhatsApp, on my email, I just dictate into my phone rather than typing it, especially if it's in different languages, right? I mean, my keyboard is English and I do another language, I'm in big trouble here. So I think language is your mouth of the technology. Then, of course, thinking and learning, that is your machine learning, analytics, and so on. So the whole thing together is really what we're talking about, intelligent automation. And importantly here, it's also not just physical robots or just virtual robots or avatars or chatbots, but it's both. So I don't care really. It depends whatever is the customer interface here with you. Now, let me do 2 quick dimensions before I really go into some examples and the implications here. The 2 dimensions tell you whether or not a certain service or process can be automated. And the first dimension is really, is that a physical process or is that an intangible information processing type process? Yeah, I mean, I think many of you have seen on Instagram, I mean, Twitter, on LinkedIn, these videos of Boston Dynamics where you have jumping robots, dancing robots, robot dogs going into burning buildings and so on. That's all terribly exciting. And that moves at a great speed. I mean, these physical robots, the cost declined by about 10, 15% per year now, while their capabilities are increasing. But that's going to come, but that's going to come in a big way, maybe in the next 2 to 5 to 7 years. That's a bit slower. Where the music really plays at the moment, where there is rapid change and rapid displacement of employees or workers, if you will, is information type processing. So anything, that's where the music plays, right? Anything you can do on an app, on a website, over the phone, via email, via chat, even at a physical information counter, can be done very quickly by automation, by intelligent automation here. And let me give you a few examples here. Yeah. We have Changi Airport in Singapore, one of the best airports in the world, and they have an information counter, and that information counter is on every level in every terminal at the airport. So we have 4 terminals with, I don't know, 3, 4 levels each. So it's expensive real estate. There's quite a big counter in the center of the airport, and is expensive headcount. And why? You need to have people who look good, speak well, speak different languages, can connect to passengers. That's expensive. At the same time, it is bad customer service. And why? Because you may be in the car park. You may be at one end of the terminal here, and you have a question, and there's no one you can ask. So I promise you, in a few years, what you will have, you beam a customer service rep, a concierge from the ceiling every 50 meters in the airport. And they will speak the 20 most common language, from Spanish to Chinese to Korean to Portuguese to French to English to Mandarin to German to Hindi, right? You name it. And so it speaks all the languages and is everywhere. So you can ask in the airport. I mean, already now at Changi Airport at Jewel, you can key your car number into one of the information counters and will tell you where you parked your car. In a few years, you are in the car park, you can ask any of these hostesses here, oh, where did I park my car? And they can guide you where to find your car again in case you lost it, right? And it's not that we don't need people anymore. You still have people, but very few. Instead of having now 5, 6 people at every information counter is running in shifts here, you may have 2 people centrally located, and every single one of these holographs being from the ceiling here, Wi-Fi connected, will connect to that control center. And if any one of these holographs gets stuck, a human can take over, you know? So, but the passenger doesn't even know that the human takes over because they speak through the holograph. And imagine how exciting this is, even with languages. It doesn't matter what language the passenger and your staff speak, because the technology will just translate. So the customer may speak to you in Thai, and you maybe speak in Mandarin or Malay or English on the other end. And, that's the future of customer service here. And so it's scalable, incremental cost is low. And the customer experience will be a lot better here. The fastest shrinking job categories in America were until recently retail shop assistants. And why? E-commerce. But more than that, even in shops. I don't know about you. I mean, I had to equip my home office. I'm calling for my home office. I bought a whiteboard, I bought screens, I bought printers and so on. And I mean, I'm in the shop. I need to buy a printer. I compare 2 or 3 printers here. Have a guess, who do I ask? Do I talk to the sales rep, or do I speak to Mr. Google? Right? So sales rep, I'm always very suspicious because they recommend the equipment that has the highest margin for them, right? Obviously, they want to make money. So I asked Google to get the review. So even in the shop, I don't really need a lot of service anymore. And currently, the fastest shrinking job category that will vanish into almost nothing is call center staff. I mean, look, you can imagine generative AI combined with product listing, policies, process knowledge, and so on. How that will change customer service. Currently, call center service many times is not good, but it will be different once it's connected to your products, to your policies, and so on, and to the CRM system of that customer. Yeah. So that's sort of where we are going here. So all the intangible stuff will be moving really fast. And many of you are in education, either education professionals or your students here. Education will completely change. Education is an information processing type service. I don't touch stuff. I don't process physical things. So it's all information processing here. I've seen at a conference last year where they showed us a metaverse-based training module for how to give high-impact presentations. And so the speaker had the goggle on and connected the goggle to the LCD, so we could see what the speaker was seeing. So you could see the speaker with the goggle. So he selected the talk he wants to give. Is this a boardroom meeting with 20 people, or is this a keynote with 5,000 people? Yeah. Then is it a motivational speech? Is it a sales talk? Is it a more serious talk? You could pick what type of talk you want to give. And then you give a 5 or 10-minute talk. And I was so impressed by the analysis you got back. So the analysis came back, says, look, you looked a lot to the left, but you ignored the audience on the right. Or you made too little eye contact with the audience. Or you had too many filler words when you were speaking. Or your voice was too monotonous. Or you didn't have sufficient breaks at the end of your sentences. So it gave you such a detailed analysis, I think, which a human coach would probably not even pick up. So you get that feedback, and then you give you a second 5-10-minute talk by trying to improve, let's say, 1 or 2 or 3 of these points here. Let's say you want to drop the filler words, right? So you see how you're improving. So imagine you practice a 5-minute speech over 2 hours, how good you're going to be. I promise you language education. Look, if you want to learn Mandarin or you want to learn French, yeah, you go into the metaverse, you pick your instructor. So do you like a male, female? Do you like old, young? Do you like a Chinese, Indian, American, French, right? Who do you want to have as your instructor? You pick your digital coach, your instructor. And then you do a bit of testing. How good is your French, let's say? And then why do you want to learn French? You want to go on a holiday? You're going to be transferred to Paris to work there. So you have to get a working business French going. So then the technology will practice with you. Let's say you go Champs-Élysées, you go with your teacher into a bistro, into a cafe, you order a croissant and a coffee, and you pay and you chat. And the next scenario, you go into a business meeting or into a negotiation. And as for the presentation software here, you will now get very detailed the coaching. Pronunciation can be very difficult. So, I mean, the technology will practice with you your pronunciation until you get a word correct, right? It will tell you how to move your lips, how to move your tongue, how to breathe, that you get these words correct. It will analyze the vocabulary you use. Are there better words and vocabulary you could use, or do you overuse certain words? Or what type of grammar errors do you make? Yeah, I hope you can see how that will revolutionize a lot of the teaching we do, where you can really practice at a very high quality level at incremental cost that are close to zero. Yeah. I mean, of course, physical robots also will happen, but a bit slower. I mean, think about robots in hotels that do room service, that bring your baggage to the room and so on. They will come. But the problem, you just start a research project here on hospitals and hotels on how they implement robots. And what we find is if you have an old facility, it's very, very difficult to implement robots there. Why? Because the robot doesn't know how to open doors, how to open the lift door, how to select a level, then how to ring the room of the guest or call the guest, right? And why is all not integrated here. You have to retrofit everything. You may have steps and other things that are difficult to do, but you have just seen the National Cancer Hospital here in Singapore is a new facility. It is developed to operate with robots. And then what happens is that every door, every lift, everything is built with API interface, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi connection, that robots can open doors, call guests, and do all of those things. So if you have a new development that will be fully equipped and robots will be easy, but you can see already it's a bit more troublesome and difficult to retrofit old buildings. If I build a new sushi restaurant or a new burger restaurant, that will be equipped very differently for a lot more robots in there. So the physical and intangible is really a very, very important dimension here. And the intangible is, which is at racing lightning speed, is happening now and is going to have eaten companies that didn't move in the next 2 to 3 years, for sure. Now, the next important dimension is what is the core value proposition of your service? Is that emotional, social, or is this cognitively complex? So if it is cognitively, cognitive and analytical. So if it is cognitive and analytical, it will be done by robots. Reservations, banking, telco, insurance, yeah, all of that will be done by smart machines, smart customer service interfaces. I've sometimes people in Germany, I mean, Germans are very much sort of a bit doubtful about a lot of technology here. And they say, oh, what about the human touch? I need the human touch, right? And I always tell them, look, you know, the human touch, you ever want to talk to a human? I mean, how many of you wake up in the morning and says, oh, I'm so happy today, I'm going to call my bank or my credit card company. I mean, most people I know, they loathe having to call. Yeah, they don't like it. And the companies also don't want to speak to you. Why? It's expensive to serve you. Yeah, it's so much easier if you do it yourself via a smart app or website or through a bot here. And even these Germans, I'm from Germany, right? So allow me to take the mickey out of you Germans here. But even Germans, I asked them, you know, so the human touch is so important to you. Is that correct? They say, yeah, very, 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 very important. Then I asked them, wow, so if it is so important to you, when was the last time you went inside a bank branch to withdraw money and you didn't go to the ATM? Right? And they say, wow, yes, true, right? Actually, if the technology works reliably, convenient, fast, almost all of us for these types of services prefer to interact with the technology and not with a human. Many times the humans are low skilled, low educated, and can't help you, right? I don't know. Yeah. So technology will be a lot better here. However, we also have the social and emotional here. I mean, robots won't have what we call agency or emotion for the foreseeable future. So anything that requires true emotions, we're going to need people to deliver this. So some of my colleagues talk about the feeling economy. So let's say religious services, marriage counseling, PhD supervision, or even sort of adventure stuff like whitewater rafting here. You don't want to scream with a robot. You want to have another person there. So this will be people. And you can see here, if it gets very complex on both dimensions, we have human-robot teams, and I think a lot of healthcare will be here. The AI will be so much better at diagnosing and processing and so on than humans. And but still, let's say if you get a cancer diagnosis, I don't think we want to talk to a robot, right? We need a human being, a doctor or a nurse, who understands what we are going through. And I mean, the National Cancer Hospital here in Singapore, that's precisely what they do here. And they replaced a lot of I mean, in Singapore, we have a shortage of nurses. So it's not so much that the robots displace nurses. They're actually helping nurses to reduce their stress level and their workload so that they have more time to interact with patients. And they also use these robots to get rid of work nurses don't like to do. So, for example, if you're under chemotherapy, they have to measure your excrements, right? There has to be weighed, has to be looked at, has to be analyzed, and that's very unpleasant work for nurses. And they developed a toilet which is basically robot operated. So that means this robot toilet here, you go if you're on chemotherapy, you go there. They will do the weighing, the measuring. They will take a photo. They will analyze the whole thing, and after that, they will clean everything. So nurses are not involved anymore in this unpleasant work, right? So you can see here. So that's really the future. Now, the holy grail of automation of customer service processes is end-to-end automation, meaning it becomes completely scalable. And here you can see, this is one example. So Pascal Bornet, he was my student, and then he was the McKinsey partner running the intelligent automation practice here in Asia. And he did like 700 digital transformation businesses. This is an example from ANZ Bank in New Zealand and Australia. And they end-to-end automated full customer service processes. Here, this is what you see here is for credit card applications, from targeting customers on TikTok and social media to then issuing a credit card or a travel insurance or a personal loan. Everything is automated. But what I want to emphasize here is not just one technology, right? It's not AI. It's APIs connecting to police records, to credit agencies, to you name it. I have to, you have to know your customers. I have to establish your identity and other things. So it's kind of complicated, but you can see how it was done. And today it is really an end-to-end automated process that is fast, convenient, and cost-effective. So it's the holy grail. And to me, one of the world champions of sort of scalable customer service is Google. So I'm talking here about Googleization of many services. And Google, you can see here, I mean, billions of people use Google, millions, hundreds of millions of companies advertise on Google products. I mean, whether it is Google Search, Google Maps, you name it. But yet there are very few customer service people here. And so I see many people are raising their hands. Just take down your questions or put it into the chat, and I finish soon, and then we can discuss. It's free flow discussion then. Yeah, so don't worry, I will answer all the questions you have here. No, so for Google, what they do is they have an allergy against operational headcount, meaning if you're a manager who wants to hire a customer service staff, you're running an uphill battle. But if you want to have a few $1 million to build a scalable technology, that's fine, right? So they have like 3 hurdles here. There are 3 things that enables them to do this. The first one is if you want to develop a new service as Google, the first one is they ask you, is the addressable market at least 1 billion users? And the second is the toothbrush test. Do these 1 billion users use that service at least twice a day? So I hope you can see if 1 billion people twice a day, 2 billion transactions a day, if that customer service process is not robust, customer error tolerant, and works, there is no way you can throw headcount at it to fix problems. It doesn't work. So it has to be really customer error tolerant, error free. It has to work. The worst thing that should happen with a Google product here is you should shut down the app and you start it again, right? And the third principle is they call the Swiss Army knife principle. That means one problem, one tool. And why? If you integrate a lot of tools and technology, it becomes very complex, meaning customers are more likely to make errors and things don't work. And I mean, I have a Windows 11, a new laptop here that crashes regularly. Why? Microsoft, everything is integrated. It's very complex. And if so many things are integrated, I as a customer make mistakes, right? I have to do so many options and da. But even more important, it gets very complex for developers. Yeah, if I have no integration and very clean APIs, it means I can develop something that is robust. And that's really Google. And let me give you, I mean, another example is here. I've been a customer of Wise and Revolut. They're 2 fintechs out of the UK. And I mean, I have a relatively complex need. So WISE is beautiful if you get money from different countries, if you spend money in different countries, if you use a credit card in different countries. So I travel a lot. I get royalties and income from, I don't know, Australia and Hong Kong and the US and Europe and Singapore and the UK, right? So I have so many inflows and outflows. I have a web developer in India. And my bank, I mean, with an online bank in Europe, they charge me 19.95 € for every non-euro transaction. So it's very expensive. And then they give me a very shitty exchange rate for non-euro. And then there is a fee on top of that. If you have an Amex credit card, it's almost the same. There is a fee on it. There's a bad exchange rate. So you pay almost 5 to 6% more or over and above a fair currency exchange rate. So WISE's value proposition is incoming, outcoming money here. I give you the absolute fair currency exchange rate. I only charge you 0.5% commission in most cases. That's it. You don't pay more. So it's the cheapest credit card you can have, the cheapest payment you can have, and the cheapest way to get money. And the beauty is that you get an account. So I have a US dollar account through WISE in the US. I have an Australian dollar account through WISE in Australia. I have a Singapore dollar account in Singapore. I have a Euro account in Europe. And that means if somebody in America has to pay me money, I can give them a US account and they pay in the US, from the US to the US, no cost involved. I receive the money, no cost involved. And I can translate that money back into euro or Sing dollar or pay my web developer in India, right? And the guess, I mean, that's a fintech, multi-billion-dollar valuation now. Have a guess. So I have relatively complicated needs in all these accounts. Have a guess how many times I talked, chatted, emailed with a WISE employee, right? Exactly zero. And why? It is built like Google, if you will. Now, if you're in research, I see so much research here, and I don't know whether some of you are graduate students here. There's so much research on what do customers prefer, people or robots, and do people prefer robots that are humanoid or more technical and so on. To me, that research is going to be outdated very, very soon. Do people prefer robots? That's the wrong question. That's like asking today, do you prefer ATM over human teller? Yeah, of course we prefer ATM. We only use a human teller if we need something that the ATM cannot do. Yeah. And then it's also the wrong question because look, you know, my kids have been in Europe now for many years. And in Europe, they travel a lot and they use low-cost carriers. And low-cost carriers, they charge you, I don't know, 10 euros for counter check-in. But the online self-check-in is free. So I have a guess how many times my kids paid $10 for a counter check-in. Exactly 0 times. So don't forget that these transactions are virtually cost-free because variable costs are very, very low. So much more interesting research really is to how do you successfully implement service robots here? I mean, and to me, the biggest sort of, you can see we have sort of some strategies here, and I will share the PowerPoint in the chat with you. You can download all of this. There are strategies on how to do this. And for me, dual culture is one of them. Currently, my gripe with many, at least shared services, meaning, let's say, the HR, finance, risk management, and so on, departments and global companies, they roll out apps and technology that is not very customer-centric, you know? So I think you need a dual culture. Yes, you need to have the technical know-how and sort of the scalability and cost reduction. You want all of that, but you still need to have customer centricity. So the whole thing on service excellence is absolutely critically important. Cool. Now let me do a few implications here. So what does that mean? I mean, many of you are young, you have the whole career ahead of you. So what does that mean that you're at the beginning here, or the early time of the service revolution that will completely change what we know about the service sector? So it's terribly exciting. So a few implications. The first one is scalability will lead to increased concentration of service markets. So what does that mean? Currently, how many banks do we have in this world? Probably millions. Probably. Yeah, definitely hundreds of thousands. How many banks do we need in this world? How many WISE type of apps do we need in this world, right? So you will see WISE will eat a lot of margin of traditional banks. They lose these transaction costs, the commission on credit cards and payments and all of that. So you will see as fintechs eat juicy business after juicy business, you will see their margins, their contribution drops, banks will fold. Yeah, we don't need banks, and that means these jobs will be gone. And here, don't get me wrong, look, it's hard for people whose jobs are gone, but if you want dramatic increases of living, that means what? We can't pay for these services anymore, right? Look, I save maybe 2,000 euros a year by not transacting international currency stuff with my bank in Europe anymore. So I have 2,000 euros extra. So what do I do with these 2,000 euros extra? I go for a nice dinner. I go on a nice holiday. So my standard of living increases here. But it also means fewer bankers have jobs and more in hospitality have jobs, right? Or maybe more in education, maybe more in healthcare, right? Depending where people shift. And you can see here, I mean, Google Maps. How many Google Map applications do we need in this world, right? One is probably too few, no more innovation, no competition. We don't want that. So maybe I would like to have 10 Google Maps type of applications globally, right? WhatsApp, right? All of these services here. Right? WISE, we just mentioned, yeah. YouTube, Coursera, education. I mean, how many education apps do we need in this world, right? We have millions and millions of educational institutions, language schools, language tutors, and all of that. I mean, many of these jobs will just go. Yeah. The next is most service offerings will be highly productized. I mean, look, if everything is going to be like a Google app or like an app on the iPhone, so I put an app here, there are a few things you can customize, and that service serves 9,999 customers out of 10,000. And the one out of 10,000, I mean, it's tough luck. You have to go to a personal, probably much more expensive or different or niche provider who then caters to you. But we're going to sort of satisfy a lot more, or maybe compromise here and there by using standard interface. I mean, Apple is a lot less customizable than Android, right? But most customers are okay with that. And as like an ATM, there are some things you can't do with an ATM, but still, most of the time, we're okay with that. Your service will no longer be differentiated anymore. Look, I mean, my WISE card, my Google, I don't have service. I just use the app. That's it. So stuff like frictionless onboarding, frictionless customer journeys, the brand you have, right? These things are more important. Customer service, almost not anymore. You shouldn't have many failures. If there is a failure, you should be able to pick that up quickly and address it. But it should be 1 in a billion transactions that you have a failure, so that your stuff has to work. So what we will have is a low-cost mass market, low-cost, high-quality mass market. But we still have a handcrafted luxury segment, and this is very much like the Industrial Revolution. Look, most of us consume a lot today, and prices have collapsed. Yes, I know people think that prices have increased a lot, right? Nominal prices have increased. But how economists look at standard of living is how many hours or minutes do you have to work to buy a loaf of bread, a kilo of butter, a kilo of rice, or a t-shirt, right? And let's say for a kilo of rice, how long you have, let's say you're middle class in almost any country, the minutes you work for a kilo of rice has been coming down for almost 150 years now, 200 years now. It's cheaper and cheaper and cheaper for you to buy. That means a lower and lower and lower proportion of your income is spent on food and clothing and goods you buy. So let's say before the Industrial Revolution, a lady could buy one handbag in her life, and that was leather, handcrafted by a local craftsman. And that's it. Today, middle class, you can buy a new handbag every month if you want. Yeah. Uh, but we still have Hermes and we still have Louis Vuitton, which still costs a lot, but that is handcrafted luxury. Yeah, so you may think it has cost a lot, but I don't know, maybe you can do the analysis. Maybe the number of hours you have to work, let's say 100 years ago to buy a Louis Vuitton, maybe it's about the same today. So the productivity increase hasn't really happened in the handcrafted luxury segment. So in the service sector, we will get the same. We're all going to be on apps, on banking apps and wise type of apps and edu apps, on health tech apps here. But there still will be high net worth private banking, where a banker comes to your office, comes to your home to do things for you. Why margins are so juicy for you and you're willing to pay for that, that the banks do that. There will still be Ivy League type schools like Harvard Business School here that deliver high touch and incredibly expensive education experiences. But the world mass market will be in scalable solutions. I'm very happy to chat over that later in the Q&A. Now, most technology will not be produced in-house. There will be global solutions providers. I mean, look at ATMs, look at point of sale equipment. Banks, retailers do not manufacture them. Likewise, service firms will not manufacture holographs or here digital people. This is from Soul Machine, is a company that does nothing but create your digital front line based on your brand and God knows what, right? So they really design your frontline for you. But so that means you do not develop this by yourself. So there will be global solutions providers for barista systems, for retail solutions, for pizza restaurant solutions, for sushi restaurant solutions. I mean, already my McDonald's here in Singapore, they're hardly employees anymore. There is a screen where you order and pay, and it prints out a little piece of paper, and then you wait until a number shows, and then you go to the counter to pick up your food. Believe me, in 3 to 4, 5 years, even that a robot can hand you your bag with your food or your tray. And then whether the burger is flipped by a human or by a robot, or the fries are done by a human or a robot, you don't care, right? So my guess is that a large restaurant will have maybe 1 or 2 employees and only to intervene when there are problems somewhere. Let's say customers get into an argument or you know, there's a problem or an emergency or technology malfunctions. But even then, it may be a control center that looks after 2 or 3 robots and then has an emergency response here. So, yeah, I mean, happy to chat more on this one. Here, last one is really our standards of living will increase dramatically. Already now, so what we assume is reasonably competitive market economies. That means if incremental costs are close to zero, prices will go down to almost zero. And that means a lot of services, health tech, insurtech, edutech, will be offered either for free, advertising funded, or for a low subscription rate. You can choose. And people always say, but, you know, but think about this. I mean, look, when I went to London to study, there was no Google Maps. There was no WeChat. There was no YouTube. When my kids went to Europe today, I mean, my wife was so worried, would our kids survive on their own? They were so pampered here in Singapore, right? And hey, you know, if they don't know how to operate a dishwasher or a washing machine or anything, how do they find out? Very simple. You put the model number into YouTube and your problem, and there's a 2-minute video on what the problem might be and how to fix it. Google Maps, you're everywhere. You drop my kids anywhere in the world, they know where to go for food, where the movie is, how local transport works, right? I mean, when I was in London, a student, 1-minute phone call to Germany was £2.30. So you can imagine how long I spoke to my parents, like a 10-minute call, 23 pounds. I mean, how many beers do you get in a pub for that at that time, right? So today we have a 1-hour family call every Sunday. I mean, my wife travel, I travel, my 3 kids travel. So what does it cost us? Yeah, nothing. So I'm going to show you already now, there's an incredible amount of services that provide outstanding value to us that are virtually free. And healthcare and education will go into that. Now, let me stop here. I mean, ethics and corporate digital responsibility is sort of a key topic here. We don't quite know what all of this technology will do. So I portrayed here all the rosy picture and the benefits that are there. But of course, there are downsides. I mean, there are ethics here. There are macro issues such as dehumanization, threat to human dignity, social deprivation, addiction, right? These are the big issues, but there are also smaller issues like malleability. Social media were not designed to spread fake news. They were designed to create engagement. So happens that fake extremist kind of news creates a lot more engagement. So that was done. Another key worry is all of that technology is a lot smarter than we are. Already now, if you go to bookings.com, TripAdvisor, do you know that your recommendations you see there for your trip is not what is the best option for you? All of these algorithms are designed to generate the highest profitability for the platform. And that's an interaction. They look at two variables here. Number one is your likelihood of making a booking. And number two is the commission they get from that booking. And that determines what you see first, right? Fairness. I mean, we've seen all of these sort of algorithms that discriminate and so on. There are 8 different types of biases the technology has. The AI has at least 8. So in no AI is going to be bias-free. And by the way, no human is bias-free. So the thing is, how can we combine? How can we minimize? How can we mitigate biases? And then privacy is a big issue. I mean, we are open books to these technologies. And I mean, it has been an issue, although there's some legislation, but even in Europe, which has the tightest regulation on privacy, if you put a product on eBay in Germany, a colleague of mine looked at this, your data are shared with 900 organizations around the world in eBay's ecosystem, a privacy policy of over 2 million words. So it's mind-boggling. There's no way you can cut through this. And the technology often coerces you. That means if you want to use it, you have to click agree. Yeah, I mean, these are all ethics. So that's a big issue here. So you can see, I mean, I'm very happy I put the screen again. These are some of the implications here. Let me cut through this here. I'm very happy to chat with you on education separately. I will share on the chat a few resources, including a free copy of this book, Intelligent Automation, which was a bestseller on Amazon for over a year. So only for you guys here and only for a week, I give it away for free. And there's a video here on the future of MBA education. I'm Vice Dean MBA programs, but you can, I mean, if you want to know, this is a video that really tells about the future of education and a bit how we deal with this here at NUS Business School, National University of Singapore. Okay, so we are open to discussion, and let me stop sharing here. And I will, while you will have some questions, which Saurabh, I think you will moderate, right?
Yes,
I will post a few things into the chat if you like.
Yes, sir. Please feel free.
Yeah.
I mean, like, first of all, this was such an exciting session. I mean, like, I'm myself blown away with so many takeaways for me, myself, as a startup co-founder and somebody who's so passionate about bringing international education to every university student. I think so. There's one compliment for you here. I mean, like, what I've been to some of the best schools in the world.
So very quickly to interrupt, you stopped me again from sharing here.
One sec. I didn't, sir.
Okay, somebody did, yeah.
Then let me make you a host again.
Okay. Sorry about this, everyone.
Unfortunately, what has happened is I'm logging in from a different system than I regularly do. So unfortunately, the system is not allowing me to allow chats. There is some error, and it's basically a hardware error on my system. we tried fixing it up while you were giving this masterclass from Zoom settings. Unfortunately, they're not being reflected. They can only be reflected once everybody restarts. So it's very
I think
unfortunate.
it's working. It's working now.
It's working now. That's great. What I will also do is we will share these resources over email with everybody, because everybody in this masterclass is going to get a certificate of participation. We will definitely make it a point that everybody also receives these resources to the PDF, to the video that you just shared, and we'll make sure that it's happened in 24 hours with everybody. Yeah, so guys, we're open for the Q&A for the next 25, 30 minutes. Please raise your hands. If you have questions, please ask in Q&A. We'll be happy to take up most of the questions. Okay, I'm pulling up the ones who really want to ask live first. So I'm allowing Anshul Pal to, okay. So you have shared, right?
I'm sharing as we speak. So I'm sending, yeah. So the keynote is, the PDF is uploaded and a few resources are available, yes.
Okay. But anyway, so have you shared these PDFs on the video with us? I think you had some conversation with Michelle, so you have shared this with us as well, I guess.
I will email you after the talk. Yeah.
Okay, so that will be great. Why I'm saying is that in order for me to, control the participants and allow them for the Q&A, live Q&A, I will have to take up the host, reclaim the host rather.
Okay, fine. I'm done here now. That's good. So I shared everything.
Okay. That's great. So I'm doing it again. Anshul, I'm allowing you to talk. Please go ahead and ask your question in person.
Hi, Anshul. Good to see you. If you can switch on your camera, would be nice to see you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Please switch in. We are having a great conversation. It's a great opportunity, guys. I'm also allowing Kuntal, who's next in line.
Hi, Kuntal.
Okay, let me see. Meanwhile, sir, what we can do is maybe they have some issues with the system. Maybe they're trying to open up again. You guys are going to be in the queue, please. We'll take up the question from the Q&A meanwhile.
Yep.
To save time.
So let me pick up one question. I see Rahat Hossan is putting a comment here on, I want to do a PhD in services marketing on this topic in the future. Now, what do I do? I mean, there's so much research to be done. It's unbelievable. So please do it. Yes. Just don't do these kind of stories. Do I prefer a human or a robot? This stuff will be gone in 3 years by the time you're finished with your PhD. Have a look at the PDF I posted here, and you can see this dual culture kind of stuff, research. There's some ideas for you to do research, but there's definitely tons of opportunity. We don't know yet how people engage in the metaverse, how people learn, work, interact with digital people. We don't know yet. Yeah, and there's tons of research to be done.
Probably we can take the question for it.
Narendra says, what role does AI or automation play in achieving sustainability? I mean, there are sort of two opposing things that are happening. One is that generative AI and AI overall is eating more and more and needing more and more energy here. So the entire energy is the number one problem we have in sustainability. If I have unlimited energy, I can do recycling, I can do everything I want to do, right? I can grow vegetables in houses with artificial light and artificial climate control and everything. So I don't need the fields anymore, but I need energy for that, for building, for light, for climate control and all of temperature control, humidity control, and all of those things here. So the energy is one concern. Good news is, of course, that solar, wind, renewables are making huge headwinds. And at the same time, the chip manufacturers are working on more and more powerful chips that require less and less energy. So I'm convinced that we get that under control. And the other thing is that a lot of these things actually, yes, it becomes very visible that these servers and generative AI need more energy. But look, if I don't, I mean, for example, I am now with a telemedicine app, which is so beautiful because I get a doctor within minutes. I talk to the doctor and they do the prescription and everything, and payment, everything is on the app. So the whole thing takes 5 to 10 minutes. Doctor spends 3 minutes with me. There's no more nurse involved, no more clinic involved. So imagine the amount of energy you save by me not traveling to the doctor and parking and then going inside a clinic where there's air conditioning, a building and everything, right? So, I mean, don't forget that each and every process that is moved from anyone going anywhere to doing things that's moved onto an app consumes a lot less energy and is a lot more sustainable than anything that happened in the past. So I'm quite confident that this whole development will overall make our economies a lot more sustainable. Okay, any other questions? Possibility of sharing slides already done. Stalin, you can download from the chat. How important are international short trips or inter-exposure for university students? I mean, yeah, I mean, look, I mean, very good question. You need to build very different skills. I mean, I think it's quite interesting to know, look, do you need to learn all of these things, net present value, accounting, statistics, and all of that? And my short answer is absolutely. Look, my son-in-law, he has a PhD in physics. I know very little about physics. Even if I ask ChatGPT 4 to help me to understand, I still don't understand because my basic knowledge is too little. So it's a bit like, look, if you want to be a banker in finance, do you have to manually calculate stuff? Not necessarily, but do you need to have at your fingertips the numbers that you can very quickly access? If there's 10 million, 100 million, 1 billion, what is the ROI? What you need to have a feel for those things. So I think, yes, you need to study and master all of these things still. The thing is that we probably need a lot fewer people in this world to have these skills. So in the past, maybe we needed millions and millions and millions to do this kind of work. And going forward, the individual is a lot more scalable. So maybe I only need hundreds of thousands. Yeah, that's where the standard of living increase comes from again. But we still need that. So for study trips, I mean, look, if you do need to build a very almost like we call this T profession. You need a pretty wide overall understanding of the world, and then you need a very deep knowledge in one or two key areas where you see your career, right? So yes, I think it's still important.
Thank you so much for this. We have a lot of questions. If you scroll down, the new questions will come up.
Yeah, let me scroll down. Okay. PhD, corporate digital responsibility. Absolutely, yes. Summer, please look at my YouTube channel. There's a whole masterclass on corporate digital responsibility, and you go onto my ResearchGate account, and that's kind of at the end of the PowerPoint which I uploaded. You get all the links there. You can download the recent papers on this. The service automation, same. No, of course they're different, right? Innovation does not have to include automation. But of course, automation always includes innovation. Yeah? But I mean, we do a lot of innovation that is not really driven by technology still. Adoption of AI in education in African countries. Absolutely. I mean, look, currently high quality education is prohibitively expensive. And I see more and more, I mean, medicine is a good example. If you go into the countryside, doctors are often poorly trained, poorly equipped. But going forward, a doctor with some medical knowledge is a lot better with AI support than without AI support. And I think the same applies for education. You will have a lot more. So the people in that sector will deliver much better quality education, healthcare, simply because they have AI support in the back. There were some studies recently that showed who gets the biggest uplift in performance, and it is not the top performers. it is the poor performers and average performers who get the biggest increase if they become AI supported. And I think that plays into the hands of many professionals in developing countries, which now get best in class support. So I'm very hopeful here. The book link again. I mean, look at the chat. You can see this, Najda.
We will also share our email, guys, if you're not able to copy it from the chat.
Let me go back. So there's so many here. Agricultural economics. I mean, this is not really my topic, but same thing here, right? Diagnostics of pests, of illnesses, of soil, of how much pesticide you need, how much fertilizer you need, how much water you need. And I know that in Brazil, they have massive, huge farms here where it's so automated, where they fly with drones over these huge fields who in real time together with geotagging analyze it, and they guide the machines or the workers on the fields on what to do. So there are massive still productivity gains in agriculture that can come. Okay, sorry, there's so many questions here.
Yeah. In fact, I was also looking through some of them. I don't know if you have addressed.
Service automation be made more believable, Shalini? So what is not believable on Google Maps, on WhatsApp, on Wise is fully believable, right? I mean, I don't understand your question here. If you are ill, I mean, when we are ill, the first thing we do is we Google Mayo Clinic in the US or UK healthcare. And why? Because they're the best websites to understand what's wrong. Do we always find out what we have? Let's say when somebody is, probably not, right? But you can see there are new healthcare apps that come out, and they are so smart. They connect, so they can read your oxygen level through the camera. You put your thumb onto the camera, it reads your oxygen level, it looks at your heartbeat rate. They can look at your skin, your tongue, at your eyes. So the camera can do a lot of diagnostics. With a microphone, you can cough into the microphone. It tells you whether you have COVID or tuberculosis, right? And then it will ask you some guiding questions as you go through, and then have a pretty good diagnosis for you. I don't know what's there not believable. I mean, we already use Google for a lot of stuff. Just think, how does smart Google work, app-based Google work? How does an app like Google Maps work for many other transactions? I mean, you think about travel insurance, car insurance. I mean, Bajaj Allianz in India is one of the best digital insurance providers who made so many services scalable and digital. So I've got Deepu, who is the senior president, customer service operations. I've had him as a guest speaker a few times in my executive MBA class. Travel Ease, in a blockchain-based travel insurance solution that connects to you if your flight is delayed and tell you, look, you know, you are insured, your flight is delayed by 4 hours. We will, and your coverage is you get so many whatever dollars per 2 hours delay, and we credit that money to you within 3 working days. So, I mean, they will convince through performance. They work. If your app works, if your technology works, customers will use it and will be happy. They're not going to call you anymore. You know? Cool. There's so many questions here. Let me go down here.
You can take one more, and after that, I have one question. And,
very good. So detecting fraud and measuring, is okay. You do both, right? I mean, I just did a workshop with WeBank in China. So WeBank is sort of Tencent is one of their biggest shareholders. And you know, of WeChat, WeChat is a comprehensive app in China. So WeBank is riding on that, is one of the biggest online banks in China. And they basically, you can, if you need a loan, you can just ask, 2 clicks, you go into the app and it shows you how much money you can borrow with immediately. So you immediately credit you. And how they do this, they look at your social media profile, what you have done, I mean, what cars you have booked and where, and things you have paid and done, which payments you default or didn't default. And I mean, they charge relatively high interest rate, almost like a credit card, but they have relatively low loan sort of losses here, defaults. So you can see if you have a lot of data, you can use AI to analyze that and to assess creditworthiness. API means that you have to connect to someone else, like Experian is a credit rating agency. So most people in the developed world have an Experian credit score. Problem with that is you have to pay for that. So if you're an online bank, Experian charges you for every inquiry of the creditworthiness of a customer. So I mean, it's not which one is better. So what data do you have? What's that customer worth? Are you willing to pay for that data? Yeah, but these are quite detailed applications already. But let me hand over to Saurabh, and you wanted to ask a question too,
Yes,
right?
yes, Professor. So we already launched a poll, guys. You can see, I'm sure a lot of people already started responding. So a couple of questions about today's session and a couple of others about your international travel plans and boot camps. Professor Wirtz, we are great proponent of, data science literacy. We believe that data is going to be so big. So today, it's not like you only have to be a data scientist to understand data science and to be interested in it. Just like in your case, you said that if I want to know more about physics, I should probably know about that. And there's so many other domains as well. So similarly today, whether you are an engineer or a management student or even an agriculture student or whatnot, even if you don't want to be a data scientist or a business analyst or somebody who really works in that field, how important do you think is data science for just common students, university, everybody, to be more literate about it, and how it can really impact their career, even they're working as an operations manager or as an engineer or whatnot?
Yeah. The world will need fewer and fewer not so smart people and not so educated and trained people. So these millions of call center staff in the US, in the EU, in India, in the Philippines, they will lose their jobs. They will have to do something else, right? So maybe go to app development and so on. If you want to be a data scientist in a business, so maybe a big company now employs hundreds of people in that department. But if you have a lot of AI automation kind of support, maybe I only need a small team of 3 or 5 people who are then supported by a network of vendors. So I see this more and more. Global companies have a network of vendors who help them to do stuff. But in the company, the global responsibility is in the hands of a few people. Believe me, if these few people don't have a really in-depth understanding of what they're doing and a feel for analytics, a feel for numbers, a feel for what's going on, they're not going to be effective. So if you want to have a good career, you have to be at the top in any one of those functions you want to be, because if you're average or poor, your job is going to be gone, right? So it's not whether or not we get replaced by AI. I think the thing is you have to become so good together with AI that you can move mountains. Yeah, you're going to be productive. You're going to achieve a lot, and you have to be really a champion in what you're doing. And you don't have analytics, then that will be very hard. Yeah.
Thank
So
you. Thank you so much.
yeah.
So we had a little poll. I'm sure everybody can see the results on this screen. We had more than 57% today. The audience was students. 39% were teacher, professors. This is really rare. I can see the excitement with the academic fraternity. Students ranged from engineering, management, IT, agriculture. That's why so many agriculture questions as well, and other. Then there was a couple of questions. How important is international education? Almost everybody agreed on that. Coming down to the last question, what do you think about today's masterclass? Almost more than 95% have said that this is very informative and inspiring. So thank you so much for such a great session. Guys, we will share all your certificate of participation, also the resources that Professor Wirtz has shared over email as well. Please watch out for the next 24 hours and you will receive it. Thank you once again, everyone, for participating. And thank you, Professor Wirtz, for gracing this masterclass and really enlightening us with the domain. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you, everyone. It was a pleasure to be with you. Enjoy. Have a good holiday today.
Thank you, sir. Take care. You too.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.